Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another eMarketer Tech Talk, where we host amazing guests from all areas of media, ad tech, and MarTech. I'm Chris Wood, analyst media content at eMarketer. Today, we'll learn how combining agentic AI with real-time behavioral insights from Edge AI lets marketers respond in the moment, creating experiences that actually matter. I'm joined now by Jonathan Woolf, Chief Revenue Officer at Intent HQ. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi, Chris. Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Same here. Glad we could connect. Jonathan
Yeah.
has a great presentation for you, and afterwards, we'll open it up for questions about what we've learned. Use the chat window to submit questions for the Q&A and to communicate with your peers. And I turn it over to Jonathan.
Great. Thanks very much, Chris. Good evening, everybody. I say good evening because I'm actually talking to you from Africa at the moment, or good afternoon or good morning, depending where you are, time zone wise. It's my pleasure today. Thank you for joining. It's my pleasure to take you through some really interesting technology. Some of you will be trying to do something similar already with some existing tools. Some of you may be using different tools in different ways. Some of you may be customers of ours. Some of you may be first timers into this space. Hopefully, we can give you a few lessons learned, some of the things to avoid, but most excitingly, some of the great new technology that's emerging and really how we are leveraging it with our customers today to really take them forward. So, who are Intent HQ? Well, we were fortunate enough, as you can see on this screen last year, to have won the AI Company of the Year in the UK. And just over a month ago, we won the National AI Awards AI Business of the Year in the UK for 2025. My mission over the next 25, 30 minutes or so is to give you a slightly better idea of what it is we do that enabled us to win those highly competitive awards. The relevance of this opening slide as well is that lady who is running on the beach, that silhouette of what looks like a woman, we don't actually know who she is, but we are able to identify some of the types of attributes that you can see down here on the right-hand side without understanding who she is. But we do understand her persona, and that's what matters. So hold that thought and let's do a little whiz through. Little bit about myself. I was a customer of Intent HQ for many years. I was at Telefonica for 10 years altogether. Firstly with Telefonica Group, then with Telefonica Digital, and then I joined Intent HQ 3 years ago. So I have been a practitioner with this technology and other technologies as well. A practitioner when it comes to driving customer engagement at pretty significant, at pretty large scale as well. What have we got within our platform that we feel is completely unique, which we will take you through at a high level, just to plant a thought in your mind? We consider ourselves to be delivering the richest customer intelligence available today by combining unique on-device mobile behavioral AI from Intent Edge. So this is where we put Intent Edge AI on the phone. We embed it in the phone. And we combine that with advanced customer AI coming from Intent Lift, typically fueled by our customers' first-party data, but then run through our AI pipelines and extracting all sorts of new opportunities and new segments that you probably will not be able to see currently. We have offices in 6 cities and 6 countries around the world. We're now running at about 325 million customer profiles that we're processing every day. To put that into plain English, typically between 2 and 250 attributes per customer. The Financial Times called us out as one of Europe's fastest growing technology companies for the last 3 years. Gartner consider our technology disruptive. Our foundations were in telecommunications, but we've since expanded over the last few years into a variety of verticals, some of which you can see on the screen there in front of you. If there's a single thought really that drives us and that we aim to deliver for our customers. It's to help our customers to understand their customers better than anyone else can, and allowing them to be relevant with their customers. When they are relevant with their customers, when they drive that relevant engagement, which we'll talk more about, they get improved conversion, they get improved NPS, they also get a very significant saving. Um, so one of the lessons learnt from the work that we did at Telefonica was the extent to which we could reduce the volume of messages massively. So going from 400 messages per customer per year down to about 65 or 70 messages per customer per year, whilst increasing revenues and profitability. One other key point, of course, is privacy. So we're SOC 2 certified or ISO 27001 certified. Privacy is right at the heart of our platform. It's at the core of what we deliver to our customers. It's designed into the DNA of our platform as well, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. We have a little bit of a marketing disconnect today, as I'm sure many of you might agree. Customers are drowning in content, but starving for actual meaningful connection. Depending on which stats you read, you will see one of the ones I pulled up is that we're receiving one way or the other over 10,000 messages per customer per day. The notion of loyalty is dead. We're seeing very fickle customer behavior amongst many of our customer segments and sectors. The brands love to think they're relevant. Every brand really would like to think they're relevant, but the truth is that most are noise. The problem is not one of reach. It's very easy to spew out huge amounts of messages. It's one of relevance. And actually, a big part of our mission to Tent HQ is to reduce the message volume massively, to really increase the relevance, to give you and the customers a much better experience so that they will engage with that communication. One of the things we talk about is contextuality, not just reacting and engaging with the customer based purely on did they respond to a particular campaign, what channel did they respond through, was it the app, was it online, did they walk into a store, did they phone into the call center, but actually being able to converse with the customer. Conversing with the customer with the understanding of what their context is at the moment. What are they actually doing right now? That history is still, of course, really relevant to us. That's really powerful. But the most powerful thing for us is the customer's current, what we call contextual value. Where are they at during the day? What has their recent pattern been? Are they going for a run? Are they on their way to the office? Are they in the office? All of that affects how we might engage with the customer. The moments, actually understanding the moment, and we will articulate that in greater detail, how we deliver the best moment to engage using our proprietary AI capability on Intent Edge, really trying to drive the emotional affinity of the engagement with the customer. And we've got a few examples for how we're trying to achieve the same commercial outcome, but we engage with customers in a very different way, depending on the depth of our understanding with those customers as well. The paradigm shift around relevance in today's world has evolved significantly. For years, it was seen as a function of targeting the right customer segment with the right offer. We used to talk about right offer, right time, right channel. But today, that has changed. It's not just about matching a product to a demographic. It's about really getting that deep emotional connection, the perfect timing, contextual sensitivity, and of course, consent-driven delivery.
Well, Jonathan, I was wondering if you could perhaps give us an example of what emotional resonance looks like in hyper-personalized experience.
Yeah, no, thanks very much, Chris. Actually, let me hop to this slide. So in this example here, which we've run with one of our customers, we have the same target commercial outcome. In this case, it was to sell an Apple Watch, but it could be to upgrade to an iPhone 17. It could be for a variety of different things. The principle still holds. What do we have on the right? We have a lady who loves her contemporary fashion. We see that in the data. We see that in the data coming from our customers. We see that in the data, of course, coming from the mobile phone. Loves their fashion. What do we have on the left? We have someone, he's hopping over a log. He loves his active sports. He's super active. To the lady on the right, we might say, why not move up to an iPhone 17 if we were looking to upgrade her to the next phone? Why not move up to an iPhone 17 on unlimited data, carry on surfing those beautiful high-end fashion websites without the risk of any bill surprises? To the man on the left, if we were still trying to achieve that same commercial outcome to sell an iPhone 17, we might say, why not move up to an iPhone 17, seamless integration with your Apple Watch for that early morning run, and leveraging imagery that will resonate, leveraging text that will resonate more. You can see add more style, you can see add more endurance. These examples, without giving any trade secrets away, were the actual in-flight campaign examples. So much higher tick rates, much higher click rates, and very significantly higher take rates, higher conversion rates as well. So that just gives a little example. And part of what we'll be talking about a bit further on in the talk today is when we get to the agentic capability of how we're able to really drive increased automation around those types of activities. But thanks for the question, Chris. Let me hop on here. Yeah, most companies, one of the challenges that we had, and this may resonate with many of you out there, but in a world where traditionally it's been so deeply embedded for companies when they want to increase revenues to turn up the campaign volume. Not necessarily turning up the campaign relevance, but this is a behavior that we see in customers and gradually getting to this place because you're never going to go to them and say, oh, I've got the perfect solution. But how do you gradually get to this place where you give them confidence to turn down the message volume, but really increase the accuracy, the focus, the relevance, drive up those conversion percentages, because actually the percentage of personalization at the level of contextual relevance is still pretty low. And we've got some stats, some examples as to why that matters. Some of the examples you can see here, you can see the brands down on the left who were all really successful. Some of them were holding group level brands such as Unilever with Axe, better known over in Europe as Lynx. All of these, in one way or another, lost out to the entrants who were more aware not just of their target demographic, not just of their segments, but really engaging at a persona-based level, really understanding the behavior, the intent of their customers, and new entrants moving quickly in this space with the ability to accelerate and change quickly, taking big chunks of market share and really causing some significant challenges for the incumbent players in a variety of sectors, as you can see. Now, why do we see these challenges here when it comes onto this? Well, some of the challenges that I experienced in my previous life and that we experience today with some of our customers, they all make really good sense, right? The organization is, if it's a large company, it's complex. We might not have defined owners for certain parts of the engagement, the customer engagement supply chain. Integration with existing MarTech and AdTech platforms, there's going to have been a really heavy investment there. How easy is it? Are we talking about disrupting that, or are we talking about just being able to plug in a capability that can really fuel that can act as a real catalyst for the customer's existing capability? We are able to do that at Intent HQ. The complexity of the customer data architecture is massive. I think one of the learnings, that I would offer up is that you don't need to solve all of that. When we first started, on our personalization journey with Intent HQ when I was still at Telefonica. We had over 1,000 data points per customer, but we didn't need all of that. We actually started with just about 50 data points per customer to give us enough information to understand and be able to infer what are their interests, what are their brand affinities, what's their intent, what are their behaviors. There is, of course, always a reluctance to change what we have. When you're dealing with this sort of capability, there's not many parts of the organization it doesn't touch. There are the compliance issues. And then, my word, what we're talking about today, there is a continual pace of change. But again, I would encourage you to actually embrace that and just to start doing things now. Just define 3, 4, 5 use cases where you can test, where you can start implementing the capability and actually get moving. Um, Hyper-personalization for us, a definition, everyone will have different definitions, but some of these are fundamentals as far as we're concerned. So being able to understand the behavioral signals of the customer. Oh, and we've just had another African power cut. Am I still online, Chris? Can you
Yeah, I
still see
can
me?
I can see loud and clear.
Okay. All right, fantastic. Apologies for that. We were wondering if that might happen again. All goes to show we're live and we're real time though. Hyper-personalization, what matters to us? Behavioral signals, predictive intent models. So really being able to understand, is this customer likely to leave? Is this customer likely to upgrade? We're going to drill into that a little bit because we can provide some really powerful additional data points that makes those models more accurate and more performant. That contextual intelligence, going back to the first slide where we have that silhouette of the lady running on the beach, being able to understand that person's context at the moment. Are they running? Do they run 3 times a week? Do they run never? Do they go to the office? If they go to the office, do they do so in a car? What make of car is it? We can infer all of this sort of stuff through the mobile phone, through the signals that we pick up through the mobile phone. Adaptive content, really the sorts of examples I was giving earlier, but when you might have the same commercial target and outcome, but engaging with the customer in a very different way, and really reducing the level of manual work required by the teams. And this is where the technology has come on so much. When I think about what we were doing even 5 years ago, in order to customize the imagery and to customize the text based on the best understanding we had at that time of the customer, that required a huge amount of manual work, right? You're tagging up the different imagery, you're tagging up the different text, and you're putting that through, and then you run the campaigns, then a new set of stuff comes along. The world has changed enormously now, and so much more of that can be automated as well. One important thing is we're going to come back to this, but a key part of actually getting this adopted and embraced across the organization, one of my learnings is to give people a vehicle that exposes the insights, the behaviors really quickly and easily and allows them to explore the insights and behaviors really quickly and easily. And what you're looking at here is our Insights Explorer, which for me probably remains the best user interface that I have ever had the pleasure of working with. What you're seeing is the speed with which any user can just drag and drop queries into the dashboard, whether they're looking for customers who love their fashion within a certain spend range and whose top brand affinity is with Prada or Zara, as we've got here, or whether they love active sports and their top brand affinity is with Nike, whatever it may be. The ability to get all of the teams on the customer, whether they're in marketing, whether they're in customer value management, whether they're in the product teams, strategy teams, even at board level, just allow them to be able to see the insights, allow them to surf around. I used to say to the teams in Telefonica, whatever you're doing this evening, whether you're having a cup of tea a beer, a glass of wine, whatever. Just surf around in the data. You will see new opportunities that you didn't understand existed before. And you'll say, oh my gosh, why aren't we targeting these people in this way? There's great opportunity there. We're going to come back to that, but next we're going to talk a little bit more. I've mentioned Edge AI, what we do with AI on the mobile phone. So let's get right to it. So we have a unique capability, Intent Edge AI. We embed the AI on the phone. We take advantage of the fact that the mobile phone today is a supercomputer from 15 years ago in your pocket right now. And there's a huge amount that we can do on it. The default mode of operation, we pick up many hundreds of signals. So signals through Bluetooth, through Wi-Fi, through the accelerometer. We see the installed app footprint. We understand how often you pick your phone up and put it down. We understand how low you typically like to let the battery drain. Are you like me, you always want to keep it above 80%, or are you quite happy to let it go down to 20%? What's the relevance of that, you might say? Well, that gives us a clue. It all adds in to building that persona of the customer and understanding actually their appetite for risk or how much they like to be in control. It's another signal. It's not an exclusive signal, but it's just another signal that helps us build up this picture of the customer. But one of the most interesting things is our default mode of operation is that we're not identifying any information. So nothing about Jonathan, nothing about Chris, just information that says this mobile phone leaves home at 7 o'clock in the morning. This mobile phone goes for a run 2 or 3 times a week. This mobile phone drives a car, and the car is a BMW or a Hyundai, whatever that may be. We pick up those signals. The car example, for instance, we see through Bluetooth. When you get into a car and you connect via Bluetooth to the infotainment system in the car, we are able to derive the make and model of the car, as an example. But we understand all sorts of patterns of information about the customer without understanding any personally identifiable information. And none of this information leaves the phone as well. And just to give you an idea, here are some of the data points that you can see scrolling on the screen. You'll see the AI on the phone working out when the best moment to engage is. So this is not, oh, the customer usually responds to a message at 7 o'clock on a Friday evening and does it via the online channel or comes in via the app. This is when is the best moment to engage based on the AI actually understanding the customer's behavior right now contextually. So that's super powerful. Um, this, of course, goes to the heart of us ensuring that we can deliver hyper-personalization whilst delivering customer privacy, complete customer privacy, at that same time. So we're able to analyze those behavioral patterns without sending data to the cloud. We offer real-time contextual personalization without the PII. The processing is executed on the device. So that's hugely powerful. That takes a huge workload off the servers. We're talking with some of our customers, we're talking 80, 90, 100 million subscribers. So you can imagine the difference that makes when the processing is being distributed and federated and carried out on the device versus being put server side. Customer data does not leave the device. Customer insights, without any personally identifiable information about the customer, that can leave the device. That's fine. And I should say, of course, for customers who do want to join up the data, that can be done as well. We call that mode 2 of operation. So in that case, that 360-degree view that many of you will probably have of your customers right now, which, if we're all honest, probably isn't really a 360-degree view, but we can build that right out. So that view that you've got on your customers just became a much bigger view because we now have a real understanding of what the customers are doing the rest of the time when they're not engaged with your brand. And some of the things that we are able to infer as a result of that, you can see on the screen in front of you right now. And I'll just trigger it off so we can get the scrolling going. we're able to predict because we literally see the behavior on the phone, and as we our phones now are a pretty good imprint of our lives. And so we're taking advantage of that and extracting every possible signal we can in an entirely privacy safe way to be able to predict some of the things that you see at the bottom, whether they're in a smartwatch, whether they're about to refuel, whether they're about to move home, whether they're about to get a plane, whatever it might be. A wide variety of insights, all of which we can use to engage better with the customer and to pick our timing on that engagement as well. I'm going to hop through a couple of these slides here. And let's talk about a concept that's unique to us. So micro segments and micro moments. So in the context of relevance, intent edge, the micro segments and micro moments are crucial concepts that enable really precise personalization and targeting based on some pretty specific understanding of behaviors. So what's a micro segment? Well, you can see a couple of them on the screen here. And we've got, weekend social media users is one example, evening mobile gamers. That's another. That is based on the behavior that we see on the phone. Okay. So that's pretty interesting. It becomes even more interesting when we combine it with micro moments. So when is that time? So we've got weekend social media users, we've got weekend high volume gamers at the weekends, but when do we target them? What is that micro moment, And if we see them commuting on a Thursday night or a Friday night, and we can actually see that, how about we send them a contextual message then that will resonate with them, but picking exactly the right moment. One of the things we talk about in Intent HQ are moments of need as well. That is a moment of need. You can imagine someone who's a heavy mobile gamer, they're running out of data, especially in some of the markets that we serve around the world, in some of the prepay markets, where you've only got the customer really until they run out of their current data bundle. They have a moment of need for more data then before they start surfing around and looking at competitive offers. Let's engage with them right at that moment and pop in something at precisely the best moment to engage.
Sure, Jonathan. Yeah, I was wondering if you could explain how brands can actually act on the micro moments in real time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you, Chris. Actually, why don't I hop to the next slide? So you can imagine the phone understands this, what you can see on the screen. It understands your routine over the day. It understands the customer's behavior when perhaps they're not necessarily engaged with that brand, whether it's a bank, whether it's a telco, whether it's a retailer or a travel company. In whatever sector they operate, I'm going to assume you've all got a good level of understanding on your customer based on the customer's interactions with you. You might be buying in some external data sets as well, but do you actually understand the customer's context? Do you understand what they're getting up to? Do you understand the rest of their lives? What they're doing when they're not engaged with your brand? We can pick the optimal moment to engage, leveraging the AI on the phone. And that might be at this particular time, as you can see on the screen here, when the customer's on the way to work. And we might say, right, we want to send a particular message down right now with an offer that will resonate. And that offer might be coming back to our lady who was running on the first slide. If we were doing work, we're doing work with a couple of banks at the moment. And in this example, we know she's into fitness. We still don't actually know who she is, which is just fascinating. But we know she's into fitness. We know we want to offer her a credit card because of all the other behavior that we can infer from the device. But we want to offer her a credit card at exactly the right moment, and we want to make that offer in such a way that it resonates with her. So here we are, an active rewards credit card that gives you cash back on fitness, healthy meals, etc. So it's something that is going to be relevant to her. But coming back to this slide, we pick the exact moment. So she's done her run, she's on her way to work, nice time to, she's commuting, nice time to engage. But we don't just send the message at that moment. We send the message down, which does not actually appear on the phone, on her phone at that moment, until she gets it out of her pocket or until she swipes up on the home screen. And at that second, we see that because we have intent edge on the phone, we see the movement on the accelerometer. We see her swiping up on the home screen. We see her getting the phone out of the pocket. At that second, we make the message visible. And that is one of the mechanisms through which we're able to drive this really significant improved conversion as well. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question, Chris. But
Sure, yeah. I mean, another thing, you mentioned predictive models based on behavioral signals. How does an intent HQ get this level of insight without relying on PII?
yeah, and that goes back, and thank you for the question. That goes back fundamentally to the paradigm shift that is intent edge, right? So
Right.
we are processing the data on the phone, and the insights can leave the phone, but the customer data does not have to leave the phone. We do not, to achieve hyper-personalization with intent edge, we do not need to know it's Chris or Jonathan. We can infer a huge amount about the persona because we're just saying, what is this mobile phone? How does this mobile phone live, right? What does its life look like? And again, if the customer wants to join that up, of course, we can enable that as well. But I think one of the reasons that the mechanisms are catching on so well for us is because by default, we offer that alternative option where we don't have to harvest any PII whatsoever.
I see.
Thank you for the question. I'm going to fly through. How are we doing for time? 2033. Okay, I'll fly through because we're now coming on to the exciting part. So one of the things I wanted to talk about very quickly was causal AI that we leverage. We have a productized causal AI capability within the Intent HQ platform. And this example really highlights how we leverage it, what we mean by that. So in this example, and again, we segment a customer base and we say, all right, let's imagine that you're looking at your customer base, whether you're a retailer, whether you're a telco, whether you're a bank, and you're going to communicate to them. You want them to buy a particular product or service. Um, you've got these sorts of segments. Okay, so you've got the wasted segment, and when you fire off a message to them, and frankly, it just goes into a black hole. You don't hear anything. Nothing happens. You don't get any conversion back at all. You've got the do not disturb segment, which is, one more message and I'm going to swipe left. I'm going to opt out. And so actually you engaging with me, trying to sell me something has had precisely the opposite effect. Um, you've got the customers who are a lost cause, and many of our telco customers have customers across their base who either don't make them a lot of money or in some cases cost them money. Okay. But what is this little segment that we've got up here, the persuadable segment? These are customers who they probably won't buy, but we are able to understand through causal AI that if we engage with them in the right way, at the right time, with the right offer, in a way that resonates with them, they are persuadable. And we've been fortunate to achieve great success there. Which brings me neatly onto something we call audience AI as well. And this is just a very quick flash of a capability whereby we or you, if you're using this technology as a customer, you set the commercial outcomes that you want to achieve with any particular campaign. And you can play with that. You can see the slider up in the top right-hand corner of the screen. You can say, right, I want high conversion and I want a really focused audience that's going to give me high conversion. Or you can fan that audience out and you can say, I will accept a slightly lower conversion, but at all times, the AI in the platform is curating the optimal audience for you to achieve the commercial outcomes that you want. And you can play with that and you can target that as you like, as you choose to. But I'm sure many of you have joined this webinar to hear a little bit about our Agentic AI platform, which we're going to be releasing very early on in the new year, and we've already got it in beta right now. So what I've been talking about today, you saw the automated dashboard earlier on in the webinar, where you're just able to quickly drag and drop and discover the new customer segments. We've talked quite a lot about Intent Age AI and the data coming off that you can see represented here on the right-hand side of the screen. So we've got these two sources coming in. On the left, customers' existing first-party data. On the right, mobile insights, behavioral information coming off the phone. We then put it up through our agentic capability, and this really does change the way in which our customers are going to be working, and bit by bit will allow them to greatly increase the level of automation and the level of conversion that they're able to achieve with their customers. So starting off, number one, we bring all of this information into our deep signals layer. So this combines all of the models and the predictive capability into a single profile, a single good customer profile. You can see in the middle represented here, we have the intent graph. And that intent graph is something that we have built up over the last 10 or 11 years. We've got hundreds of millions of data points in there that understand associations between different communities of interest, and that is able to leverage that to better predict what the customer is likely to do. So the probability, if, for instance, you are a runner and you like Formula One, what is the association there? If you like golf, what is the probability of your association with a particular fashion brand or a particular make of car, whatever that may be. We then go up through the intent layer. So this is where we're taking all of these data sources and the insights that we're processing on the device, but also the core models that we're processing off the Intent Lift platform. We're feeding that into the intent layer and really fueling when we're trying to predict, is the customer going to buy something? Are they going to upgrade? What is their intent? What are they going to do next? Doing that from a much richer set of data sources. We then take that up into the impact layer, and this is where the fun really starts. So with the impact layer, we are able to say, right, what are the opportunities? So with any particular customer, whether they're in tourism, whether they're in telecommunications or in finance, what could we do for them? What are the opportunities in the customer base that we can see to increase more value, to support the launch of a new product or service? And what happens in there is that our models and the agentic platform, the agents within that, are running up and down the platform, and they are understanding from the data what the potential opportunity is for particular segments. And they're saying, oh, you've got a great opportunity here or a great opportunity there. But they're also doing competitive market research as well. So when they do present that offer back to the customer, it is going to be contextual from a market and competition perspective as well. And then we actually go up into the experience layer, which is what we were talking about earlier. So putting that curated, hyper-personalized offer together in a way that will resonate with the customer. And this is about the imagery being optimized for that customer's persona, about the text being optimized, the language, the tone of voice, but of course, that moment of engagement, that optimal moment of engagement as well. And that is how we're bringing everything together. We're calling it Intent One. And some of it you can see running now on the left-hand side. And this is just an example this is a tourism opportunity. We're not doing any work right now with the Dubai Office of Culture and Tourism, but this just gives a great example of the sorts of things that we are able to reveal in the data that we already understand on Dubai visitors and how could we run a campaign? What are the opportunities to increase visitor numbers for the Dubai Department of Tourism and Culture, who of course drive wherever you are in the world, if you've seen any adverts for Dubai, the chances are that they have emanated from the Dubai Department of Culture and Tourism. And we can take that all the way through to being able to automate the prompt generation for understanding the richest segments, but then putting together an engagement, a set of different engagements, different opportunities that we can use quickly for A/B testing, having identified those rich seams to be able to go and monetize and leverage to the best of our capability. So that's just a quick little flash there with how we expose all of the cleverness that we've talked about under the hood to our customers through a very simple chat interface that is processing a huge amount of data under the hood. Another quick example here for a customer audience segment who are high volume weekend data users, who are video gamers, who haven't topped up on their data bundle for 3 weeks, whose top brand affinity is with the PUBG game that some of you may know a little better than I do, who have a second SIM with a top competitor. What is an example offer that we could make for a particular telco? And again, we will make this gaming data offer. This comes back to our moments of need. We'll make this gaming data offer not just in the right tone of voice, not just in the right way, but at exactly the right moment when the customer needs it, when it's going to land with him, when the conversion is likely to be higher as well. And we've already talked about the other examples of how we really get that emotional resonance. Let me finish off with a couple of pointers when we've got various examples. One here that I just wanted to share from times gone by when it comes to starting with personalization and hyper-personalization technologies, just to quickly identify 4, 5 use case opportunities. What we did here, retention opportunities, opportunities to move customers up the tariff, to leverage our understanding of their network experience, and very quickly saying, right, what's the size of the audience we want to target? How much do we want to move them up? And you might be surprised. You can with audience segments just by getting a tiny bit of movement. And I can remember, for instance, at the top here, we were talking about getting movement of 2.9 pence additional value per customer per month. But let's say you do that across 70,000 customers, and you can work out the maths. You're into multiple millions very, very quickly. How do we actually pull that together quickly? Well, a big part of it for us was shifting the mindset. This was not a big digital transformation, right? This was us setting up, as a relatively contained cross-functional team with aligned KPIs. And one of the KPIs that I like to talk about is the customer relevance score, which is a combination of, was the timing relevant? Was the offer relevant? Was the tone of voice and the imagery relevant? But actually getting some measurement that's aligned across the different teams that you can all agree on. Cross-functional pods, and again, small pods, 6 or 7 in each pod for every personalization activity that we talked about, from marketing with representation, active representation. So these people actually have their time prioritized to support the cross-functional pod. It's not something they're doing off the side of their desk. That's really important, getting that participation. And then finding a vehicle to break down the silos. How do we actually, what was my experience of actually getting uptake and getting buy-in? Well, I have to say, it came back to having a very slick user interface that I could give to people that they could be using within 5 or 10 minutes, and then just coming back to us and saying, wow, we had no idea this particular opportunity existed there. And just actually a user interface that allowed the adoption of it to go pretty viral internally. And some final thoughts. AI, let the AI choose the moment. So don't be, there's a lot of talk at the moment about, should we be scared of AI? Let AI choose the moments. It's better at doing that. Let AI adapt the content. It is getting better at doing that. But it's really important, we still exist to set the strategy, right? As human beings, we still exist to protect the brand, and that's not going to change anytime soon. So, on that note, um, I'd like to say a big thank you all for listening, and I don't know if we have any questions.
Of course, Jonathan. Yeah, thank you for sharing those great insights. We do have a few questions, so I'll get straight into them. How do you identify which moments are truly the best moments to engage?
Yeah, that we've got a couple of ways of doing that. So we're able to leverage the predictive models within our platform on top of existing first-party data, and we've been doing that for years actually, and that's been getting good results. But the supercharging capability that we've been able to identify comes from Edge AI, because all of a sudden then, we're not looking at last week's data or last month's data and saying, oh, the best time to send Chris a message is right now. We're saying actually, yeah, let's look at that, but you know, what are you doing right now? Do you look like you're indisposed? Or, can we send you a message and just make that message visible at the point at which you are already engaging with your phone? And that is super powerful. And we're seeing over 9, 10 times conversion improvement through that.
Makes sense. We had a great conversation. Unfortunately, only time for one more question, but it's a really important one. What does
Mm.
implementing Edge AI actually look like for a mobile app team? Is it
Yeah.
complex to integrate?
I think our record's 18 minutes. Um,
Oh, okay.
so, so, so it's super fast. Yeah, super fast to install the SDK. So,
Wow.
so the bit obviously, we engage with the respective privacy, legal teams, marketing teams, possibly the finance teams, product teams, etc. But we will have done that, and then the point at which we get the green light, yeah, it's super fast. It's 18 minutes, and what that means is that day, that evening, you will start to see the first data points coming through that you had not seen previously um, through Edge AI.
Hmm. Well, Jonathan, thank you again for this great content and answering the questions that we have time to share. Really appreciate it and a great conversation in the chat as well. Um,
Great.
uh,
Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you everybody for your time, and yeah, feel free to connect via LinkedIn or whatever medium you prefer.
of course, wonderful. And before we wrap up, let me take a moment to tell you about eMarketer's media channels. Um, Join us this Friday, December 5th, for the Commerce Media 2026 kickoff, a virtual summit featuring principal analyst Sarah Marzano and marketers from Kellanova, Everyman Jack, and more. Secure your spot for more webinars and subscribe to our newsletters, all at emarketer.com. And don't forget to check out eMarketer's podcasts, available on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Keep an eye out on your email for the link to today's playback. And of course, feel free to contact us if you have any other questions. Thank you all for your time, and thanks again to Jonathan, the team at Intent HQ, and our eMarketer studio team behind the scenes for making this webinar possible. We'll see you all on the next Tech Talk.